Okay, let's dive in. We're looking at an animal today whose whole identity, scientifically speaking, has just been turned upside down, what, 4 or 5 times in about a century?
That's right. Imagine a creature where, like, every time we find a significant new piece, the textbooks basically get thrown out.
That's Spinosaurus. Not just the movie monster that fought T-Rex, but scientifically,
Oh.
well, a puzzle that keeps changing shape.
Exactly. In this deep dive, we're using the history of its discovery as a kind of roadmap. It's this long and tangled scientific story. We'll see how new fossils plus new tech forced scientists to constantly rethink what this thing was.
Right, so our mission is to follow that trail, see the evidence that caused these huge shifts, and maybe figure out why we keep getting Spinosaurus so spectacularly wrong.
And it all starts, really, back in 1912.
With Richard Marggraf finding the first bits.
Yeah, though Ernst Stromer was the one who published it formally in 1915. And even then, what he had was, well, not much. Bits of jaw, some teeth, and these enormous spines sticking up from the back.
Which gave it the name, right? Spinosaurus, the spiny lizard.
That's the one. But straight away, the anatomy was just weird for a theropod. That super long, skinny jaw, and obviously the giant sail.
And the teeth. You mentioned those were key right from the start. Not like T-Rex teeth at all.
Yeah, not at all. They were conical, more rounded, robust. Honestly, they looked much more like crocodile teeth.
So the croc comparison was there from day one.
Pretty much. It immediately flagged that its diet, maybe its whole lifestyle, was going to be different from your typical big meat-eating dinosaur.
So Stromer, back then, what did he actually think it looked like? With just those fragments.
Well, he had to be conservative. His 1936 reconstruction basically took the strange head and the sail and kind of stuck them onto a standard large theropod body plan.
Because that's all they had to go on.
Exactly. It was the best guess with the available context. But then tragedy strikes.
This is the really crucial, awful part of the story. The loss of the original bones.
Yeah. World War II. The Munich museum where Stromer's fossils were housed was bombed in 1944, and the Spinosaurus holotype, the original specimen, was completely destroyed.
Just gone. So for decades, all scientists had were Stromer's notes and drawings.
In a few photos, which unbelievably kind of got lost in the shuffle and weren't properly rediscovered and published until 2006. Think about that gap.
Wow. So without the actual bones to check against.
Paleontologists' imaginations just went wild for like the next 50 years. There was no hard evidence to constrain the theories.
Which leads us to some pretty interesting artwork, like that 1976 piece.
Oh, Giovanni Caselli's illustration. Yeah, that one was famously described as looking like a wiener dog on steroids. Really low slung, kind of stretched out. It was bizarre.
And what was the thinking behind that? And the sail, what were the theories then?
Well, the sail was always the big question mark. Back then, a popular idea was thermoregulation.
Like using it to heat up or cool down?
Exactly. A giant radiator, maybe, to dump heat if it was a really active predator. Or maybe to soak up sun.
But those croc-like teeth kept pointing towards the water, didn't they? Even without proof.
They did. By the mid-80s, like 1984, some researchers were already suggesting, hey, maybe this thing had a snout more like a crocodile's for catching fish. This was way before they found direct evidence.
It's amazing how the clues were there, just waiting for more pieces.
And the next big clues actually came from Spinosaurus's relatives. Finding other members of the Spinosaurid family was key.
Right, like Baryonyx. That was a huge discovery, wasn't it?
Absolutely huge. Found in England, Baryonyx walkeri. It had fish scales preserved in its stomach area.
Okay, so boom, direct proof of fish eating in the family.
And it gave us a much more complete picture of the body shape, the long snout, those big thumb claws, even a little crest on its head. John Sibbick's artwork of Baryonyx from back then still holds up pretty well, actually.
And then Suchomimus followed.
Yeah, the croc mimic, found in Niger. About 2/3 complete. Its face was incredibly crocodile-like.
And the environment it was found in.
Lush, swampy delta. Critically, its nostrils were placed quite high up on its snout.
Suggesting it could breathe with just the top of its head out of the water.
Precisely. So you put it together. Croc jaw, fish diet confirmed, high nostrils, swampy home. The dots were really connecting towards a semi-aquatic lifestyle for the whole family, including Spinosaurus.
And just as science is piecing this together, Hollywood calls.
Perfect timing, wasn't it? Jurassic Park III comes out in 2001.
And suddenly, Spinosaurus is the new big bad dinosaur on the block.
It totally cemented that public image. The giant spiny monster with the crocodile face. Made it world famous overnight.
But the movie version, big upright long legs, wrestling a T-Rex, That wasn't quite matching the emerging science, was it?
Not even close, really. Even as the movie came out, the scientific understanding was shifting towards something much lower, much stranger. The movie version was basically obsolete on arrival.
Which brings us to the real turning point, the big one, 2014.
Dr. Nizar Ibrahim and his team, they announced the discovery of the first new Spinosaurus skeletal material since Stromer's original finds over a century earlier, found in Morocco.
This was the moment everyone was waiting for.
Yeah.
Actual Spinosaurus bones, and we have modern tech to analyze them.
Exactly. And they combined the new fossils with things like high-res CT scans to look inside the bones. This gave us really 3 game-changing insights.
Okay, what was the first big one?
The bones themselves, they weren't hollow and lightweight like most theropods built for running fast on land.
They were dense.
Incredibly dense, solid. It's a condition called osteosclerosis.
And that points towards water.
Strongly. You see it in animals today that spend a lot of time in water, like hippos or manatees. Acts like ballast, helps them control their buoyancy, stay submerged.
I mean, dense bones. What else?
The legs. They were surprisingly short and stout, with really wide, flat feet.
Huh. Not the long legs of the movie monster. This led to that Short King nickname, right?
That's the one. Short legs, wide feet. It suggested an animal adapted for walking on soft, muddy ground, maybe like a huge heron wading in the shallows.
So lower profile, heavier bones. It all solidified that semi-aquatic crocodino idea.
It really did. This became the dominant view, the basis for that big No-VA documentary, Bigger Than T-Rex. It seemed like we finally had a handle on it.
But science is never that simple, is it? So this picture emerges in 2014, and then almost immediately gets challenged.
Pretty quickly, yeah. In 2018, Dr. Don Henderson published a study using digital modeling. He basically built a virtual Spinosaurus and put it in virtual water to test how it would behave.
And what did the computer model say?
It said Spinosaurus would have been, quote, a disaster in the water.
A disaster? How? After all that evidence?
It came down to buoyancy. Henderson calculated its volume, especially with that enormous sail, compared to its likely mass. His model showed it was just too buoyant.
Too floaty.
Way too floaty. It would struggle to submerge, struggle to dive. He argued it would likely tip over, roll onto its side, unless it was constantly paddling just to stay upright. The sail, ironically, made it unstable in the water, according to his physics.
Wow. Okay, so the very thing that defines it visually becomes a problem hydrodynamically.
Exactly. But then the plot thickens again.
Don't tell me. More fossils.
You got it! 2020. Dr. Ibrahim's team comes back with even more material, this time focusing on the tail, and they propose something even more radical.
More radical than semi-aquatic.
They proposed it was the first truly fully aquatic dinosaur, not just wading, but actively swimming and hunting in open water.
Fully aquatic. What was the killer evidence this time?
The tail. They found a series of tall, flat spines along the tail vertebrae, suggesting it formed a large, flexible, paddle-like structure. A caudal fluke.
Like a giant newt's tail. For propulsion.
Kind of, yeah. Like a massive oar to propel itself through the water. Think eel or giant salamander.
That's incredible. A swimming tail on a giant theropod.
And they coupled that with calculations suggesting its center of mass was really far forward. So far forward, they argued, that it would have been super awkward on land.
How awkward.
Maybe even needing to use its front limbs for support, possibly walking on its knuckles or palms, a massive predator, potentially quadrupedal on land. Plus, they emphasized again, all the known fossils come from coastal or river deposits, marine environments.
So swimming tail, awkward on land, lives by the sea, equals fully aquatic hunter.
That was the argument. And it led to some amazing new artwork, like David Bonadonna's swimsuit edition piece, showing it chasing giant sawfish underwater with this powerful tail fluke.
Okay, this sounds definitive. Fully aquatic dinosaur discovered. Or not.
Or not, the scientific seesaw strikes again. In 2022, another team, led by Paul Serino, published a major counter-study.
What do they do differently? More modeling.
More detailed modeling. They used CT scans of Spinosaurus and related dinosaurs to build a digital model that wasn't just the skeleton, but included estimated muscles, organs, and crucially, the air sacs within the body cavity.
Ah, getting really granular about where the weight and the empty spaces actually were.
Exactly. A much more sophisticated look at the density and buoyancy distribution and their results.
Let me guess. Still too buoyant.
Still too buoyant for efficient deep water swimming and diving. Even with the tail fluke accounted for, the physics suggested it couldn't easily operate as an open water pursuit predator.
So what was their conclusion then? Back to square one.
Not quite square one, but definitely dialing back the aquatic aspect. They concluded Spinosaurus was likely a stable biped on land.
Bipedal again.
Yes, and primarily a shoreline ambush predator. Semi-aquatic, yes, but maybe more like a giant heron or even a polar bear.
A polar bear. How so?
Polar bears are great swimmers. They hunt seals from the water's edge or from ice flows, but they aren't chasing them down in the deep ocean relentlessly. They operate at the interface. Serino's team suggested Spinosaurus did the same. Wading in, ambushing fish near the bank, maybe swimming short distances, but fundamentally based near land.
So the current thinking is shoreline specialist.
That seems to be where the consensus is settling for now. A highly specialized predator, absolutely adapted for water's edge environments, using that sail perhaps for display, and the teeth and claws for snatching fish, but maybe not the deep-diving super swimmer.
And we see this scientific back and forth reflected in how it's portrayed now.
Totally. You've got the upcoming Walking with Dinosaurs reportedly showing baby spinlings as bipedal hunters near riverbanks, reflecting that latest science.
Well, Jurassic World, maybe not so much.
Well, the sources suggest Jurassic World Rebirth might be sticking with that older, more dynamic speedboat model, maybe with racing stripes doing coordinated attacks in the water. Flashier, but maybe less aligned with the current buoyancy physics.
It's just incredible. A century of discovery, from a few weird bones to a lost specimen, wild guesses, family clues, a movie star, a semi-aquatic revolution, a fully aquatic theory, and now settling into this shoreline hunter role.
And the key thing is, it's still a bit of a mystery. Spinosaurus is probably the best example of how paleontology works. It's this constant process. Finding evidence, proposing ideas, challenging those ideas with new data or new methods like physics modeling, then finding more evidence.
That cycle of discovery and rethinking is the story here.
Absolutely. It's not about getting it wrong. It's about refining the picture piece by tiny piece. And that constant argument and reevaluation is actually the exciting part of the science.
So when you think about Spinosaurus, what stands out? Is it those original croc teeth, the shock of against bones, or maybe that incredible swimming tail fluke that still might not have been enough to make it a deep diver?
I think knowing about Spinosaurus means knowing that its true identity is still, in many ways, being debated and uncovered. That uncertainty is part of being informed about it.
And it pushes us to think outside the box, right? Like that final speculative piece you mentioned.
Yeah, the Spurfaris concept art. That was pure speculative biology, way before the 2014 skeleton, imagining Spinosaurus maybe evolving into something almost mammal-like with a weird trunk or proboscis for sniffing out shellfish or something.
Completely wild, obviously not based on fossils.
And it highlights the point. Challenging our assumptions about what a dinosaur, especially a weird one like Spinosaurus, could look like keeps the field vibrant. It reminds us to keep an open mind, because nature, especially in the deep past, was often far stranger than we imagine. The mystery is definitely part of the fun.